My first question, who are you? Where you come
Okay.
from? Where did you grow up? Tell me about yourself.
So I would say I'm from Scotland because I've lived almost all my life there. But I was born in Egypt. So I do feel Egyptian, but I would say I feel more Scottish. And I got married to a German and we then moved to Switzerland. So, but the majority of my life, I would say, is Edinburgh and Scotland, and that's where I'm mostly connected to.
From what age? What age did you move from Egypt to Scotland?
3 years old. So I was 3 years old when my family left. And actually, we moved to London first, but I think we only lived there for about a year, so I don't really remember much of it. And then from there, we moved to Scotland. And from I lived there. I did my primary school, secondary school training. I went to university there. I worked there. And then shortly after I got married is when I moved. So I think I left when I was around 28 years old,
Right. So that's
roughly.
about 25 years
So yeah,
in
yeah,
Scotland. Okay.
yeah,
I
or
know you
give or
shouldn't really
take.
ask a lady what age you
Go
are,
for
but
it. I'm
how old are
37.
you?
I'm 37.
Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. I'm turning 37 in less than a month.
It's a
So
great
uh,
age, give or
great
take.
age.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
No, the reason I'm asking is because before we go to your journey, like why you moved, where you moved, and how life is in Switzerland, I wanted to know the person first.
Yeah,
And so you're an Egyptian. When you were 3, you moved to Scotland. You went to school there.
yeah.
And in terms of your family, all your parents are in Scotland. Do you have any siblings?
Yeah. So interestingly, I have a twin sister who also married a German, but she's in Germany. And I have a younger brother who's 3 years younger than, 3 years younger than me. And he's still in Scotland, in Glasgow. So yeah, my parents are still in Scotland and Edinburgh as well. But yeah, they were
Okay.
born in, both my parents were born and bred in Egypt, essentially. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. And if I go to your parents and ask them how they would describe you as a person, what would they say? What do you think?
Such a good question. I think they would say I was probably hardworking, a bit of a people pleaser, I think they would say. My mum would definitely say that. And hardworking and
Okay,
fun, I would hope.
I can confirm that. I can
Thanks,
definitely
Mariam.
confirm that. And it's like one of the reasons I wanted you on the podcast as well, because it's just fun to talk to you. And like, yeah,
I hope
when
that's
you're
good.
with my wife Monica, you guys, I just leave you to it. I just go with
She's
your
like
husband.
me.
Yeah. A lot of people I speak to, they say that to me. They're people pleasers. Why do you think that you are people pleaser?
Oh man. I mean, I know I'm a people pleaser. I don't think it's
Okay.
terrible. It's a terrible trait. I don't like people being upset. I don't like people being angry, and I hate conflict and I hate tension. So I will do everything in my power to avoid that,
Okay.
even if it's uncomfortable for me. And I have to learn not to do that. And it's really hard because I know this is a topic that this is about, but particularly living in a country that's not where you were brought up, and particularly when it's not like your mother tongue, that makes it
Um,
even more challenging, but actually maybe a good thing so that I can learn to be less of a people pleaser.
so you don't like to be a people pleaser,
No, I
you're
absolutely
saying.
hate it. I
Yeah,
hate it. It's the worst
you
trait
hate it.
ever.
But it's something. Have you looked into like changing that
Yeah.
about yourself? Have you
Yeah. But
tried it or?
so now that I've got two small kids, I have noticed that it comes out quite a lot, not to my kids, but in events or circumstances surrounding them. And I'm now trying to consciously um, show them how not to be a people pleaser. It's so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Extreme.
Yeah.
Like I literally, even the other day at Kita, I don't know if you want an example, when George was little, sorry, last year as well, um, I got a handover from his caregiver, a guy who's lovely, but he said to George at the end, "You did really well, George. Hey, dude, give me a hug." And I could see George was super uncomfortable with that. And I was like, oh my goodness, I don't want him to give him a hug if he doesn't want to.
Right.
Body boundaries, etc. And I just froze and I was like, you need to say something, you need to say something so that you can teach your child not to just do whatever anybody wants you to do. So I was like, is a high five okay? And he was like, yeah, man, high five is okay. And I was like, okay, George, you can give him a high five. It could have been better.
That's no,
But
no.
like,
It's a good. That was quick
yeah,
thinking, and you
yeah, I didn't
turned
know
it
what to do.
into
Yeah.
like something fun and
Yeah, yeah.
like
I was just like,
you.
oh my God, freeze. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
you could have
But
said, "Oh no, no hugs," or like
yeah,
then
yeah.
it would be awkward. But
Exactly. And that was
yeah,
the people pleasing in me, unfortunately. I should have been like, no, you ain't getting a hug. But I didn't. I was like, can he give you a high five instead? So yeah.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
I'm learning.
And that's fine. And also, I read about this. It's not just the people pleaser part, but also the way people talk, the way they see themselves,
Yeah,
they think who they
absolutely.
are,
Yeah.
and because you've been doing it, you said you're 37, so you've been doing it 36 and a half years,
Yeah,
and you only try not to be a people pleaser the last 6 months, maybe. So
absolutely.
it might take you some time
Yeah,
um, to learn a new. It's a skill at the end of the day, and
absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
fine. But the one thing you also mentioned is because you are not from Scotland, or because you look differently or different heritage. How can I connect the dots with that? You said it came
Yeah,
from that.
I just felt like, I'm trying to explain it in a way that's going to be nice and flowing, but I think looking back on it, I think because my parents came from Egypt and I was essentially, although I have a twin sister, I was essentially still the firstborn. Although me and my sister talk about this a lot, she's also a people pleaser. But I think deep down we tried to make it as easy as possible for our parents because it was already quite hard. They've come to a new country. They know the language, but maybe not as good. New system, new school system, new everything. And like, I think also trying to be like, I mean, you're still a child, but I think as a child, you're still quite aware of what's going on and your surroundings. And I just remember seeing maybe parents struggling and being like, okay, maybe I just need to try and make
Yeah.
them happy. I don't know if that's the right sentence, but yeah, possibly.
Yeah, no, I understand. Now that you are a parent, you can see even you move to a country that's not even too far from Scotland, let alone moving from Egypt to UK, not even speak
Yeah.
the language properly. Like that's hard enough, so I can relate. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from that leads me to the next question. Do you remember certain snapshots in your childhood, in your life, that you would say that shaped your personality today, or that makes you the person you are today?
Mm. So, are you meaning like events or
Anything. So for
uh
me, for example, I was the only colored child person in our village. Like in the first day in school, I was the only one with a suit. Um,
did your parents
like
make you wear a suit?
they made me wear a suit. But for example, these are like some snapshots. If do you remember anything like that being standing out, maybe?
Well, so one thing I would say, but it's not really an event or anything, but being a twin was huge. We were the only twins essentially in the school, let alone our class. And that was a huge thing because actually they tried to split us up into two different classes. The first year we were in school, I remember this so well. And then it lasted a few weeks because the classes were too small. They ended up having to combine the classes. And it was the only class throughout the whole of primary school that had only one rather than two classes. It's quite funny. And of course, me and my sister were in it. And that was just a huge thing for our teachers, for our friends. They were like, oh my God, there's two of you. It was just and it came with its positives and negatives. I remember that so well. Like the positives were I always had someone with me. I always had like, you know, uh, how do you say it? What's the word in English? Verstärkung. Oh my God, how I've forgotten English words.
Backup. Backup.
Backup. Thank you. Backup. It's my mother tongue and I've forgotten. Yeah, so I had a backup, like, rarely picked on or bullied because they would know there was going to be like a second one, and that made me a bit more confident and a bit more strong, I would say. But then you've got had the negatives of it, always being compared. I mean, like we were compared from our shape, our facial features, how well we did at school. Like it was just not endless. That just being a twin hugely shaped who I am today. Like that, I would say that has the primary influence on me.
I remember like not my parents, but family
Mm-hmm.
friends of my parents, and even in school also, I used to be quite naughty. So people used to come to me
Can't
and say,
imagine that, Mario.
and and they used to say when I do something in school, for example, oh, why can't you be like your brother, for
Yeah,
example?
God, yeah.
So stuff like that. So I would have never expected for you to say that you're being compared, but actually it
No,
makes
it was
sense.
so bad. And actually, sometimes it wasn't, a lot of times it actually wasn't even intentional, but the comments, you were just like, that was really unnecessary. But it was always like, and how did Marina do? Does Marina do that? And it's like, could you maybe assess me without my sister?
Can you make me an example? Yeah.
There's so many examples that now I'm struggling to think of any, like I can't, just everything. Like, oh, I don't even know where to begin, because it was on literally everything, Mario. Like, that's not even an exaggeration. Like to the even to what you were eating. Does your sister like to eat that? My sister's very good at art. Oh, but you can't draw as good as her, can you? No, I can't. Thanks for pointing that out. Like coming from an art teacher. So, for example, when do you remember when I don't know if you were the same school system, but you went from, is it called, oh yeah, standard grades to hires? And then when you went to hires, you had to pick specific subjects. And I remember specifically the art teacher being like, but you're not going to pick art, are you? But your sister probably will. You're like, thank you. Thanks for that gentle reminder that I'm very bad at art. But then, of course, I was more like mathematically gifted. So then, of course, she would get those comments. So like, it's just like, you would never compare me to my other friend who wasn't a twin, because you're two completely different people. Well, we are two completely different people. That's just
Yeah,
one
like
simple example. Yeah.
I understand, but also maybe I don't know if you ever had this conversation with, I'm sure you had this conversation with a lot of people, but I always used to get compared also with my smaller brother, not just my older brother. So Mina, my older brother, he used to be the intelligent one, behaving one. My younger brother was like very good at football. I was good in football, but not as good as him. So there's always people comparing, dropping
100%.
comments.
100%. Yeah. You're absolutely right. I think because I have a younger brother, I didn't, maybe it was there, but I didn't notice it because it happens so much with my sister. But I think the comparison was there. But like when you're a twin, it's like you cannot go a single day when you're younger. I mean, when you're in the space of a family, like being compared. Actually, even today, my parents do it, but they don't realize they're doing it because she's got two kids as well. So
Right.
you could, like, the comments will come out like, if George did something or whatever. She's like, and Marina's kids? It's like, it just continues, which I also think it's a cultural thing.
Yeah,
I
it
think it's a
could be.
cultural
It
thing
could
too.
be.
Yeah.
Does your
But I'm not
sister
sure.
also have a boy and a girl like you do? Oh gosh, it's
I know.
actually,
It's
yeah, yeah.
ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah, actually, and her girl is the same age as my boy, and we were pregnant at the same time. It's just weird.
But
Yeah, I
it,
know.
but it's been proven
It
that
has.
when you're twins, you go similar paths.
Yeah.
I even saw online that two identical twins married
Two identical.
two
Yeah.
identical
And their
twins as
kids look
well.
exactly the same.
It's it's
Yeah.
it's
I've
really,
seen
yeah,
that.
it's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Marina's daughter is 3 weeks younger than George, my son. There's only 3 weeks
Wow.
between them. Yeah, actually, not
No,
even
it's
3 weeks. It's 2.5, but whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no,
It's crazy.
it's actually it's a good thing. Like they can grow up together, and
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
great. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
Just
know,
hope the
like
comparison doesn't continue.
okay, that's great. Like I learned so much now about you. And how would you sum up now before we go to the next topic? How would you sum up your childhood in one word? I know it's mega hard, but let's make it easier. Your comparison stood out most with your
Hmm.
sister. Was it difficult? Was it annoying? What was it in
No,
one
I
word?
would say lucky.
Okay, not what I expected.
I would say lucky. I'm very fortunate. Yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
looking back, I don't think I would achieved as much as I have if I didn't have my sister. As I said, it comes with the positives and negatives, but the positives outweigh the negatives by far.
That's
Definitely.
good.
Yeah.
It's that's amazing because it could have gone the wrong way. For
Oh no, yeah.
example, not like her because of the
Definitely.
comparison, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
right. So then you grew up in Scotland. You went to schools. You studied. So take us to the path you took.
So after school, I went to university. I studied medicine in Edinburgh. And then it was hard for me to choose what I wanted to specialize in. I ended up specializing in general practice. Almost forgot the English term for that, Mariam. But I also wanted to do A&E, so accident and emergency. So after I finished my GP training, I worked as a GP, but I also did A&E on the side and what we call out of hours as well. And I only did that for about a year or maybe maximum 2 years until I moved to Switzerland. I remember graduating medicine in 2011, finishing GP training 2016, and I got married in 2016, and then we went to Switzerland in 2017 or 18, I think. So it was actually quite shortly after I finished my GP training that we moved to Switzerland, which was quite hard actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get onto that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So tell us about the journey. So after you graduated and you start working as a GP, because a lot of people I talk to, when they study, they have this picture in their head how work is going to be like, and then once you start, especially in the NHS, National Health Service
Mm.
in the UK, which is currently struggling. So made you feel? How did you feel about that?
Uh, honestly, um, so I had a love-hate relationship with my job. I loved the job. I loved the actual job and I loved the team. And it was kind of up to my expectations. But as you said, the NHS, like I saw it over the years just crumbling. And that was back in what, 2015, 16. And that was really, really hard. And actually, I'm sure this is gonna come later, but that's actually the main reason why my husband didn't want us to stay in the UK because he's also a doctor and he just couldn't see himself working in the NHS. So I loved it and it was up to my expectations, but no, it was really tough, particularly working in A&E and trying to meet the 4 hour target of seeing, triaging, seeing, and initiating treatment of a patient. And you just felt like you were just failing everybody around you. But the medicine and the
For
team was great. Yeah.
for for
So
anyone
that
that
was terrible. Sorry.
no, no, like
Is rare patient care is priority, of course, but it's just the truth, unfortunately.
no,
What it
it's
is.
right. Like hey, look,
Yeah.
you just being honest. But what I wanted to ask you is for anyone that's not aware of the NHS service
Yeah.
and how it works, the 4 hour rule. Can you just explain it for someone
Yeah,
that's
sure.
coming from abroad?
Yeah, like it's called the NHS, it's the National Health Service. Essentially, it's not private, so you're not paying to be treated. You don't have health insurance per se, but of course, a lot of your taxes go towards it. But because of that, the waiting lists are unbelievable. Like if you need to be referred to some specialty, that we're talking, if it's non-urgent and not suspicious of cancer, we're talking almost a year. Like if a patient needs a hip replacement, they'll be seen after a year, or if they need like a colonoscopy for something that's not suspicious of cancer, they're going to be seen after. I remember when I was working as a GP, it was 52 weeks was the wait. I've seen it with my parents. It's heartbreaking. My dad needed an urgent procedure. Normally here in Switzerland, it would have been done within the next day, possibly after 2 days. It was done for him after 6 weeks. And that was an urgent procedure. And in A&E, because the GPs are swamped, a lot of patients who need urgent care can't get an appointment with their GP, so they go to accident and emergency, and then accident and emergency is swamped. And so because it can be unsafe, patients come in, you don't know if they're having a heart attack or if they're just here because of their toe. You have to triage them, and you have to triage them, I think, within an hour, but I'm not sure if the rules have changed, and at least see and assess them and start initial treatment within 4 hours. And so, yeah, it's just a bit of a vicious cycle. Yeah. And it's,
So why is it that, like you said, it's of a lot of countries have a free health service. Like, yes, you pay with your national insurance, comes out of your monthly payslip when you are employed, the company. So it's technically not free. You're paying it through your salary.
Yeah,
Fine.
exactly.
But it's free in terms of when you go to the GP, you don't pay. When you go to
Exactly.
the hospital, you don't pay. But why is it that? Why is it so busy? Why are they struggling to keep things under control? What's your opinion on that?
I think one of the biggest ones is also resources, and also like the population is getting older, and there is no way a GP can safely and properly assess a patient in 10 minutes. And I think this is also the problem, because a patient's going to come and see their GP. They're not going to be able to finish it in 10 minutes. What you have to do, you have to book another appointment. And that's just going to happen with almost every patient. So it's just like, there's no room for anything else. It's terrible. But I also think resources, and I also think, I don't know if staff is an issue, because a lot of people that I know have moved abroad, particularly to Australia and New Zealand, and a lot to Europe as well, but mainly Australia and New Zealand. Actually, I'm sure that they issued some sort of statement recently saying that at the moment they can't take more UK doctors. But yeah, it's a bit of a mess, unfortunately.
It's really unfortunate because, like you said, your husband. That was one of the main reasons your husband didn't want to live in the UK, because what's more important than health?
Yeah,
nothing.
Not really, nothing.
In my opinion,
it's
nothing.
honestly.
So,
yeah.
And like, the population is getting older, population's getting bigger, but I also heard that people sicker. But I also hear that a lot of people go, even they don't have an emergency, they just go because of small little things. Is that something that's true, or just?
That is 100% true. Like, I used to do a lot of night shifts, and I used to do what we call the twilight shift, where you come in at 4 p.m., you finish at 2 a.m. And for some reason, that's when you see the weirdest stuff. And don't worry, I won't give you examples, Mario. That could be for our private chat. But like, you see the weirdest stuff, and like sometimes you do question, and I've asked so many times, I'm like, it's Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. in the evening. It's like, why are you here for this? And they're like, I'm free now and I couldn't get an appointment with the GP. And it's terrible. You're like, oh, no wonder.
Yeah.
No wonder it's not. Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah, you can't ignore them. Like, you triage it, just make sure it's not life-threatening. If it's something that you can address it now. If not, you have to say to them, I'm so sorry, but you need to go and see your GP. There's nothing else you can do.
Yeah. Just in their defense, I'm not defending everyone, but Google and researching
will make
your
you crazy.
symptoms.
Oh, 100%.
And a lot of people, they
100%.
do that before, and
Yeah,
they just have a small headache, or something is itching, and then they go on Google, and then, oh, that could be this, and then they go to,
absolutely. Absolutely. But,
you know,
even to compare, for example, the NHS system to the system we have here, I remember so clearly one shift I was working. It was a young girl who came in, and she was almost definitely having a miscarriage, and it was in the evening. And I remember phoning the gynecologist, and just because they don't have the capacity to do this, they're like, "Well, we can't scan her, so it probably is a miscarriage, but she can come in tomorrow morning for an ultrasound." And
mm,
trying to comfort a patient like that is just horrendous. But here, oh, like if it's suspicion, you are going to get an ultrasound within like, yeah. And it's not because they're mismanaging patients at all. They're fantastic doctors. It's just they have a point. Like she's not, um, it's not life threatening what some are, but her situation was absolutely not life threatening. But, she's going to go home and probably cry the whole night. Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway.
it's that's really sad. And also what you said, that when you have a parent that's sick, that needs
Yeah, it's even
treatment,
worse.
or waiting for an ambulance, and like you said, it's not the people that we are talking about, it's the system that's
Oh, it's the
broken.
system. It's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. How I know this is a big question, but how would you fix this issue with the NHS?
Oh, God.
Now, like
Money.
just so okay, where would you put the money?
More hospitals, actually. More hospitals and staff, I think. More hospital staff and more GPs. Surgeries, if possible. Yeah.
If health is the most important thing, why is it not possible to get
I
more
don't know.
funding?
I think people see how much money is gained from a private system.
Right, too
And I
big.
wonder, yeah, I don't know, maybe that's, yeah. I mean, look at this system here in Switzerland. I mean, it's a great system. It works. But, I have patients coming in and being like, oh, I'm not going to be able to afford this. So I'm not going to go for the treatment. That would almost never be the case in Scotland, in the UK, and where the NHS is. Nobody would ever have to think about money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get to that,
Mm-hmm.
because I was going to
Mm-hmm.
ask you later the main differences, but you gave us
Yeah.
a glimpse in that. Or when was the moment when you realized, okay, I need to leave, or we cannot live in the UK? When did you realize that moment? Because was it when you got married, just before you got
That's a
married, when
really,
you
really
spoke?
funny question. I never realized it, Mario, because I didn't know any other system. That was the only system I knew. I only realized when my husband said it. As I only realized that, yeah, when he said, this isn't working. And I was like, got a point here. I mean, I knew it was bad, but when you have nothing else to compare it to, then you don't think, oh, I need to get out of here.
What was his reaction when you heard what he had to say, or how he compared it to Germany, how it should be?
He was, I don't know what to use the word disgusted, but he's almost disgusted at the fact that I would want to stay in the UK. He's just like, how is this even possible? Um, I was a bit like, yeah, this is my home. To tell somebody that something's not working in your home is quite, even though it's the truth, it's quite hurtful.
That the
Yeah,
system is broken. Yeah, but also for you, obviously, you have a relationship
yeah,
in the UK, your family, but also your patients, right? You build a relationship.
absolutely.
You want to help
Of
them.
course, yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
someone coming from abroad, and just it doesn't
yeah,
have that. But I
absolutely.
completely understand the comparison in terms of the options. You mentioned Australia? Was that an option, or
We did
why
discuss that.
Switzerland? Or
Yeah, we discussed Australia, and we decided against it just because it was too far away from our family. And Switzerland, the reason why Switzerland came about was because my husband did his So I don't know what it's called in German, but in the UK it's called elective, where you get to spend a good few weeks, months, even longer abroad to experience medicine in another country. So I did mine in Africa, I did mine in Zambia, and he did his in Switzerland. And that's when he was like, oh, this is a wonderful place. The health system's really great. He speaks German anyway. And because it's really quite international, he suggested that I, at the beginning, wouldn't struggle as much because I could get by quite easily with English. So
Right.
that's how Switzerland came about.
On that, so Switzerland was the priority because of your husband loved the country, but how was it for you as a British citizen or someone who doesn't speak German to, you know, because you have to speak the language? How did you find a job? Like, how did you do a German course, or
Yeah,
tell us about
that.
the process?
So at the beginning, I was like, no way. But then I was like, well, actually, Switzerland is gorgeous. It's a beautiful place. The fact that it's really super international made it a bit easier for me to accept, because then I was like, well, it probably won't be so hard. And actually, when I remember this so well, when I first came here, I was in the main station in Zurich, and I decided to learn some German, and I asked Raymond, can you tell me how to ask for a pretzel in German? And I memorized the sentence God knows how many times. And I went up to the guy and I asked him in German, could I have a pretzel, please? And he went, I'm so sorry, I don't speak German. I was like the guy working in the cafeteria or whatever bakery. And I was like, oh, well, okay. But it showed me that that's like everyone speaks English. So, yeah. So that was the first thing about the accepting it. Like because we went to visit it before first as like a holiday before actually making the move, and I really loved it. And then the second thing was when we moved, I studied German intensively for 1 year here in Switzerland, and I would go back to Scotland every 2 months, and I would work for 2 to 3 weeks because A, I loved my job, B, I didn't want to lose my skills, and C, you're living in Switzerland. It's expensive. Yeah.
That's true. Very
Yeah.
expensive country. Will we take a step back? How did you tell your family that you are moving, and how did they react? Because you used to live at, did you live at home at that
Yeah,
time?
no, I lived at home. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. I lived at
Yep.
home because my home was in Edinburgh and I studied medicine in Edinburgh, and I got my first job in Edinburgh, and I was like, that's easy. And so, well, because I had known Raymond for quite a few years before we got married, that made it a bit easier because it was always on the cards. As I was like, it was always a discussion whether we would go, but it was always Germany.
Right.
Switzerland actually didn't really come up until the very end, right before we moved. And I personally wasn't keen to move to Germany straight away. And so they kind of expected it, if that makes sense. Yeah. Maybe a bit bitter for my brother because that meant me and my sister left. And he's still in Scotland with my parents. And unfortunately, one of them gets really sick because my dad's quite sick at the moment and he's got chronic health issues. So he's in and out of hospital quite a lot. My brother, bless him, is taking quite a lot of responsibility, and that's quite hard for us as well because we just feel guilty. You can't be there for them. So I think I safe to say, and I'd probably be the same, that my brother found it maybe a bit difficult.
Yeah, you said he was 3 years younger than you, so he's 34. Yeah.
Yes.
And there's also a question that comes up a lot is, how can you just drop everything, move
Hmm.
abroad, and leave your family behind?
Exactly.
But I'm always a fan or I always justify it to say, as long as there's someone that can take care of my parents, I'm okay. For
Yeah.
example, for me, I have my older brother. He lives
Yeah.
in the UK. If my parents
Exactly.
need something, they're there. And you
Absolutely.
have your little brother who's there for
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
parents.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure one phone call you're one phone call away, and
Yeah,
if there's something.
100%. Yeah, yeah. I mean, at one point my brother, because he got recently married, they were discussing about going to possibly Australia. And I think if that was the case, I would absolutely encouraged it. And I don't know how feasible it is, but then it would be how easy is it to bring parents over here or to Germany? But yeah, so yeah, it's important for us that they're looked after though. Yeah.
So how did they react when you told them you move?
They're like, we're very happy for you. We knew it, but I think it was very hard the first year. I think that like their reaction, they were happy, but you could see I don't want to say fear, but like, yeah, anxiety, but uncertainty maybe in their eyes.
Yeah, especially when you used to live with them in the house and then move out. And when
Exactly.
other people, they go straight from, I don't know, university abroad or working in
Exactly.
London, family somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, the transition is a little bit easier, but for you is going from 0 to 100.
Just, yeah.
And yeah, I can imagine. And when you did you have any doubts when you told them about the move? Like, did that make you think, should I do it? Is it
Yeah, of
worth it?
course.
Or
Yeah, of course. Like at one point I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm making the right decision. Um, yeah, yeah. And even after the move at the beginning, I was like, oh, I don't know if this is the right decision, but I would say it was the right decision.
yeah. And did you move out before your sister, or did your sister leave
No,
first?
she moved out first, 1 year
Right. Okay.
before. So at least it was a stepwise process.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was I was gonna say, like, if you both moved at the same time,
it'd be a disaster. Yeah.
that would be difficult. But yeah, I have some people that want to move to Switzerland, and they say, I can't leave my parents.
Mm.
I can't leave my home. If there's someone that's thinking like that, because you struggled yourself with leaving your family, so what helped you make that move? Or didn't you have a choice because of your marriage? Or like what helped you, or what advice can you give those people?
So yeah, this is a interesting one, Mario. Um, if for you too, if I could say this, it's probably important to say that I'm a Coptic Orthodox Christian and I belong to a large community. So for me, I have to say it made it easier because people from the church are like my family, and I had already known a few people that were in Zurich church. And knowing that, it made things a bit easier. So I don't want to say we're a special case by any means, but that did make it easier. But having said that, one of my very good friends who I studied in Edinburgh University with, she's a pediatrician here in Zurich. She moved 1 year after me. And I remember her messaging me being like, are you in Switzerland? I was like, yes, I am in Switzerland. She was like, we're thinking to make the move. And I was like, go for it. And I remember her saying to me, it made it much easier moving, knowing that you were there. Like if you know somebody, or if there is a group or any community that you're involved in, I think it makes it a little bit easier. So I'm not saying like you have to have a best friend, but she knew me from university. We're very good friends. She came to my wedding. We're like literally bezies. And that made it so much easier. And for me, when I made the move here, knowing that I had a community, because I already met people in the church, as a youth, you'd go to like youth conferences, European ones, meet the people from Austria, Germany, France, Switzerland, like. So I had already met, funnily enough, the people from this church, but before they had moved to Switzerland. So one of my very good friends, for example, you know her, Monica? I've known her since I was about 13, 14 years old. And I've known her from London. And you know my husband. So like it's all these connections. So that made it so much easier. So if I was to give like somebody else advice, like if they're part of a group, any group, a music group, a choir, I don't know, anything, maybe join something like that or find out about these things first before making a move, because I think it makes it easier.
Yeah, so to have a group, a community, it gives you comfort, right?
Yeah,
Even
yeah, yeah.
though you may not need that person immediately,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
just,
Just
yeah, just
knowing.
peace of
Yeah,
mind.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Like I think if I hadn't had that or hadn't known one single person here before I made the move, probably still would have, but I think it would have been a little bit more challenging. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Do you know how I compare the Coptic community? Do you watch films? Do you watch
Yes, I
movies?
love movies. I've got some great
Um,
suggestions if you need any.
yes, happy,
Watched
happy.
a great
Send me
one
a
the other
list.
day. I will.
Send me a list. And I always compare, this is just a joke, yeah? So if anyone watching, I compare the Coptic community with John Wick.
Oh
You know
God.
the hotel?
Yes.
So if you need in any
Anything.
country,
Oh, you will
anything,
find. Oh, like 100%.
yeah, yeah, it's so funny because I had a few months ago, I had a friend. He was stranded in Hamburg. The trains, the German trains, got cancelled. He was in the middle of the night. He didn't know what to do. I just messaged on Facebook, and someone responded after 40 minutes.
Oh,
Um,
way.
like, yeah, I know someone in Hamburg. We can figure something out. Da, da, da.
It's
And then
amazing.
when I told him, it was like, Mario, this is mafia. What do you do? Um,
It is
so
for a
so
good
that's why
cause.
when you said, yeah, 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 absolutely. And when you said about Zurich, or people, and your parents knew
Hmm.
people, families, 100%, 100%.
I mean, it's crazy. When we arrived, actually, I remember it when we arrived at the church and people were introducing us to people. We knew one particular family here, and they were introducing us to all people. I cannot tell you the amount of times where I was like, I know you. I know I've seen you before, and it's like this is such a small. It's such a big community, but a small world. Can I say that? Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it is
And like
wonderful.
you said, I know Ramon.
Yeah,
Yeah, from the same
it's
community.
hilarious.
And
Yeah,
also there's a lot of other ways to find the community. There's social media. There's You can join
absolutely.
groups.
Oh, I'm not on
I
Facebook anymore, but I used to be, and I remember joining the expats in Zurich group, for example. And there was another one because although I didn't have a family, but it was called like Girls Go International. I don't remember that. Anyway, and I met them a few times and it was actually wonderful. I made some good friends from there. Yeah, so there's always options. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You told us about when you told your family, but what happened when you told your friends that you're
Oh
moving?
yeah, that was really hard. There were tears from both sides. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's actually, I mean, of course, leaving family was really, really hard, but leaving friends, I found it a bit harder because your family, I mean, they will always be there for you. But since moving, my friends have changed, unfortunately. Like even my closest best friends from the UK, I had I had so many wonderful friends. A lot of them I keep in contact with now, but from my best friends group, I would say three of them have stayed like that, and the others have kind of drifted. And so it's hard because you don't know how, not how it's going to end up, but how it's going to go. Like there's one I don't even speak to anymore, and that's really sad because we were inseparable. And I think it's because of the distance. She got busy, I got busy, and then just contact faded away. But with family, it's different because if you don't speak to them for a few days, you're going to pick up the phone and it's just going to be like you spoke to them yesterday. But with friends, it's slightly different.
Yeah, it's was also one of the questions I wanted to ask you, and how your
Yeah.
relationship with your friends changed. Do you think it's because your mindset changed, or is it because you just drifted apart because you live in different countries?
Yeah.
Um, why do you think is that? Because you said you had very close friends, good
Hmm.
relationships. So why do you think that?
I honestly, if I could be very honest with myself and with, I think a little bit of both, but I think from the other side, there was some, I would say, bitterness. Because, for example, one of them I has always wanted to move abroad. I mean, even before I got married, it wasn't even on my mind. But I know she always wanted to move abroad. She never wanted to stay in Scotland. And so I don't know if that's maybe changed things, but after I moved, messages, very little reply until I thought it's it's a one-sided relationship here. So I think it's a mix. I think, of course, and I think my mindset has changed as well. And of course, I think it would have been different if I didn't have children. I think if I had moved to Switzerland with my husband, but didn't have children, I think it would also be different. But because I have children, I also think that plays a role as well. Because actually, a lot of my friends back home don't have children.
Right.
Which is, I would say, a bit strange because actually almost all my friends here have children. That's the thing. That's exactly what you mentioned. I think you find yourself drawn to your similarities, or I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
similar
no, you're
situations.
right.
Yeah.
It, it's one important thing you mentioned is that your mindset changed because, for example, remember when you were in the bubble with the NHS,
Oh
you
yeah,
thought
yeah.
everything was normal,
No,
but
one
when
hundred
you
percent.
step outside, you see that. Um, I personally went through that as well. So there's some other scenarios where you can tell who's your true friend,
No,
but
yeah.
one of the scenarios is when you move away.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with even before that, when you tell them how they react. Are they happy
Yeah.
for you? Are they jealous?
Mm-hmm.
You know, bitter? And you said that you had this friend that was bitter when you mentioned
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
it just shows you,
Yeah.
was that person ever a true friend if you can't even share something that you're excited about? And also for me, it was the actual move. It was really tough moving countries with family and kids. So
Oh yeah, it'd be
there was
harder for
like,
you guys. Yeah, you have kids at the moment. Yeah.
yeah. And then from that moment, yes, when we told friends, we also had similar reactions. We had some that were really happy, others were bitter, others were really weird.
Mm-hmm. Weird.
But
That's
then
actually a very
also,
good way to describe it. Yeah.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
weird. I don't know
Weird.
what
Just
it
weird.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And others, you could tell by they just come to your house, they help you pack,
Mm-hmm.
they help you lift things,
They're
they come to
incredibly
the
happy for you. Yeah.
happy for you carrying your
Mm-hmm.
furniture into the like just the little things. Like I had one person that made one phone call for me because I couldn't to help me with some appointments. I think it was
Mm.
to book the warehouse where we moved our furniture. That's for me. That's it.
Made a
I just
huge
needed that.
difference. Yeah.
Made a huge difference. But then there's others. They disappear, and
Yeah.
that's when you know who's your
Yeah.
true friend. Who's it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you, how did you feel when you noticed those certain people, um, they stop replying or stop messaging, or you said
I know.
it's a one-sided relationship? Like,
Yeah.
you think all those years,
Yeah. That was hard. I don't know if it's a girl thing, but I did cry over it. There were tears. But then acceptance. It took me a long time to accept that. A very long time to accept it. But I have to say it. I lost friends. I can say that now. But at the beginning, I found that really, really difficult. But then when I spoke to my other friends who had moved up from like other countries to here or whatever, exact same thing was repeated. So I was like, okay, so it's not just my relationships. It's a very common thing. But
yeah,
I
it
think I
is.
didn't want to accept it. And I thought, it's never going to happen to me. But yeah.
So for anyone watching and is looking to move or making that move, you can say it's very likely that your
It
friends will change.
very will have. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. Yeah. Unfortunately.
And would you say it's a good thing? Like, is it going into a positive? Is that a positive way
Yeah. I
or?
honestly, at the beginning, I saw it as a huge negative. And now I can honestly say, like there's no bitterness because I have been compensated in other areas and in other people. So and the good thing is like this for example, the specific person, I can't remember the last time I spoke to them, but I would hope that if I see them again, which I hope I do, that it's going to just be mutual respect and hello, hello. Like it doesn't have to be like tension and hatred. So I think, yeah, but I think you will be compensated in other, like you will have wonderful friends who have gone through the same thing. So yeah, now it's a positive thing, but
life is like a chapter, right? So
yeah,
you turn the page, you change
absolutely.
the book,
Yeah,
you move country.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So next, I prepared a rapid fire for you. So that means I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and you can only answer them in 1 sentence.
Jeez.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me something you noticed about yourself after you moved that you didn't know before.
I am much stronger than I thought I was, physically, mentally.
One funny moment from your move to Switzerland.
Yeah, saying a wrong word in German with a wrong meaning. That's all I'm going to say.
Now you have to give me some context. What is it?
It's really like, you know, when you mispronounce words. But I don't think I can say this one. You're going to edit this? Are you going to edit this?
Sure.
You know the word schwul? Schwul? There you go. I still can't say it. I said it. I can't remember what I was saying. I said it in a sentence. I could just see everybody's face being like, and I was like, what have I said wrong? And then Ramon was like, please never say that word again. I was like, don't even know what I was trying to say. Anyway, yeah, I still can't say it. Sorry. But you,
funny.
yeah. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? I can't say it.
Okay, so the next question is one UK versus Switzerland comparison that you always do.
The weather.
You always make.
The weather. Enough said. Particularly Scotland.
All right, next question. One memory you will never forget.
My wedding.
Love it. And by the way, where did you get married and when?
Scotland in 2016 in summer, right before the Edinburgh Festival. I remember that very well because everybody was screaming at the prices of flights and it was all our fault. Yeah.
You had a big wedding?
Yeah. Well, big, not compared to Sudanese, but big compared to British. I think we had 100 and something people. Yeah. So yeah.
Right. It's all right.
Yeah, but not in the thousands.
The John Wick family in Edinburgh.
They just absolutely. Yeah. Exactly.
And one advice you would give to someone who wants to move from UK particular to Switzerland?
Go for it. It is wonderful quality of life.
You know, you're the only one so far that sticks to the 1 sentence rule.
Oh, really?
And I love it. I love it because it makes it more. It breaks up the conversation and it makes it very interesting. And gives a lot of context in the short period of
Mario,
time.
I'm a people pleaser. If you tell me to do something, I'll do it.
Send $1.5 million to this account.
Did you get it? Sorry. Oh dear.
I'm not going to get that out. I love it.
It's true though. Oh yeah. Or at least we're having fun.
We're having fun. And it's past our bedtime probably. And I think
I just didn't even see the time.
You know, when you get past that bedtime, at some point you feel like drunk. You're like high.
I hit that. I hit that every night after the kids go to sleep. I'm like, whoa. But yeah.
So to the last part of the conversation, you'll move to Switzerland. And in terms of your journey, when was the moment you knew, okay, now there's no turning back?
Oh, once I got a job, I was like, oh, I've integrated. No, I think really actually at that point I was like, oh, because so for me particularly, um, when you are a doctor in the UK, you have to pay a license to the JMC every year, and honestly, I think it depends on what you do. I can't remember what mine was. Mine was between 600 and 1,000 a year, and then on top of that, if you want to stay on the register, you have to also pay. So it's not only not having a great system, but you're paying to stay in the system. It's just screwed up, to be honest. And then I, at one point, thought, if I'm working here, I've kept my license, I'm paying essentially for nothing. So once I was still part of the JMC, but I took away my license, that's when I thought, right, well, there's no going back right now. I mean, it's not difficult to revoke it, like, it will get it back. But after that step's done, you're kind of like out the system. And that's when I
Right.
knew, okay, that's, yeah.
Like, did you keep it, or how long does it?
I
Oh, you
kept
said
it.
yearly.
I kept it for a
Or
long time. Mary, do you know when I gave it up? I started my first job in 2019. I gave it up last year. That's
right?
how
Okay,
that's how
so
hard it was for me
5 years.
yeah, that's how hard it was for me to be like,
Did you
yeah,
did you feel like this was like your backup, or you just you, okay?
absolutely. This was my backup. Like if it didn't work in Switzerland, or if I wasn't happy, if I didn't like it, didn't like my job, then I could easily, like that, go back and work in the UK. Yeah,
That's understandable. Because obviously this is a new country, new culture. You don't know if you like
exactly.
it. You've been on a holiday.
Yeah,
Everyone
exactly.
was selling it to you.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so, but it's different when you're visiting or you live in the country.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
understand.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I
hmm
didn't know you paying to
Oh, yeah. And I think it's
to be a
different
doctor.
depending on what specialty you're in. Um,
Mm.
I don't, I'm not sure, but yeah, like, and I can't, and I also think also, if you're part of the, so you know how once you've got into a specialty, you can join the Royal College. So I was part of the Royal College of GPs. Is Royal College, my brother's part of the Royal College of Anaesthetists. You also pay for them. So you're paying for everything. And you're paying for your defense unit. You're paying for everything. So it adds up. I don't know how much I was paying a year. And at that one point I was like, no, I need to get rid of these things. I don't need them. Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't have these payments to in Switzerland. You don't have to pay anything
Yes.
to
Yep.
stay at the top. Oh,
Yes and no. Not for your license. That's a once-off payment at the very beginning. You don't pay to have your, how do you call it? So it's called the JMC here. It's called the GLN. So you're not paying to keep up your license, but you pay to be part of like the Royal College of GPs, something similar, but it's more canton based, like local. It's part of a group of doctors.
so it
So yeah,
depends on each county
yeah,
for your local community,
exactly. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I assume it's far less than what it was in the UK, or is it?
Quite similar. And there's also something called the FMHA, which is similar to the JMC and what they offer you, but it's not compulsory. Whereas JMC is compulsory that you have to pay yearly. So this, if you're part of this FMHA here in Switzerland, they help you with a lot of stuff. They help you with, like, as a doctor, every year you have to put in 50 points of learning. So face-to-face courses, online, and they help issue courses and help with the logbooks and stuff. So it's quite handy to be part of, but it's not compulsory. Yeah. So it's just slightly,
Right.
yeah, slightly different. And also, a lot of the time, your Arbeitgeber, what's that in English? Thank
Employer.
you, employer, thank you, pays for you. Not
Right.
always. My old job, they didn't pay for me, but my new job, they do. So yeah.
Right. Okay.
It's
Okay. So
very variable here in Switzerland. It's not like the NHS. If you're a GP in the NHS, it's almost quite similar wherever you work. I mean, not like similar, not the same, but similar in terms of consultations, patients, resources. Here, it's quite different depending on who you work for and where you work. That's just huge variations. Yeah.
Okay. So for anyone watching and is a doctor or GP and wants to move, so
Yeah.
can you clarify that part? Like
Yeah.
the
So
main
just,
differences
hmm
or
yeah. So like, for example, I worked for an employer who is not a doctor, but he owns like more than 5 GP practices, and under him's multiple doctors and nurses or whatever. And the pay is different compared to my husband, who works for his boss is the CEO, but also a doctor. So this doctor owns his own praxis, if that makes sense. And Raymond's employed by him, and so of course there's just huge variations in terms of like, because I'm part of like a huge company, I get my laptop, I'm able to work from home. Resources, I would say, are probably slightly different. For example, they want us to do artificial intelligence. They want us to use artificial intelligence when it comes to consultations, so that we save time, so that they'll just dictate for us. Whereas Raymond's won't, for example, because he's like a tiny, small private, more risky. The pay's different. Raymond doesn't do any weekend shifts. Where I was previously, I had to do weekend shifts. I did one weekend every 4 weeks. I worked till 10 p.m., whereas Raymond, they shut at 6. Huge variations. And both of them are GP practices. That's just touching the surface.
right?
It's like, if I go to detail, we'll be here all day, Mario. But it's like
Yeah, no,
really,
that's
even the pay, and you're allowed to ask, I don't know, you're allowed to ask for whatever you want. Some people will accept that, some people won't accept that. I feel that men get slightly better treatment than women in general here in Switzerland. I do have to say that in terms of pay. But yeah, it's huge differences.
when you say huge differences, it's everything you mentioned, not just the pay, what you meant in the last, but you said
All the
there's a
differences.
pay
Yeah.
gap. Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's still a pay gap. There's also in the UK. There's around the world. There's always debates around the pay gap, the
Yeah.
gender pay gap.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but I understand that in Switzerland might be a little bit more extreme because they're quite
There's
old-fashioned
still a little bit.
mentality style.
Yeah. I would say so. Yeah. I would say so, to be fair,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
So before we go to the pay part, because we want to focus on a GP that wants to move from the UK to Switzerland, how difficult or how easy was the move process? Not sure how much you had to do on your part because Ramon
Yeah.
has a German passport. It was a similar situation with us. I have a German passport. My wife has a British passport. I think you're in the same situation, but number one, how was that process? How difficult? How easy?
Yeah.
But also to find a job. How did you find that, and how did you apply? What was the process?
So one thing I have to say is, I think it makes a huge difference that I came before the Brexit, because I know a few people who have randomly contacted me via social media who want to move after the Brexit, and it's much harder for them, which is so silly because, so what I had to do was, there's this body called Mebeco, and this Mebeco body, I had to send all my certificates, like my Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery certificate and GP, as well as a German language proficiency certificate. And interestingly, it was till B2. Now it's C1. That's one thing that's changed. Back then, wasn't even that far away, but when it was my turn, it was B2. And so I have to send it all, and they then look through the notes, and once they accept that you are at the same level as a GP here, they then issue you the license. Yeah. And it turns out, so there's a huge list of countries that are, what's the word? Recognizable. Anerkennung, is that recognized? Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
basically, if it's recognized, then fine. And the UK was on that list. Interestingly, I have to double check, because someone mentioned that there's maybe starting to change it. And if you're on the list from the UK, it might mean that you might have to do extra, not like training. But to be honest, I never looked into that in detail because I didn't have to, but actually it was not that difficult for me. It wasn't difficult for me. It didn't matter what passport. Well, it did matter because I was from the UK and I was a European country, but what I meant was it didn't matter that I had the British passport and not the German passport, if that makes sense. But yeah, it was the actual process was easier than I expected. It was doing the German that was the hardest part. And then finding jobs here, everything's online. And I actually started with applying to a job that was right in the city because I knew I would enjoy it a little bit more because it had more emergency stuff. And that's where I worked for about 6 years. And I've just recently changed for a better life-work balance. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, because you moved before Brexit, and it was easier for you as a British citizen.
Absolutely.
We moved a year and a half ago, and it was not easy
Oh,
because of
really?
exactly that.
Because of that,
Yeah.
that's so interesting.
Yeah. There's two forms that we had to fill out or choose from. So it's either to immigrate to Switzerland using your passport. That was out of the question because Monica, she has a British passport. And after Brexit, they won't accept that.
They
So
won't,
there's
yeah.
another form that I was able to use, which is a Familiennachzug, which is
Oh, because
it was
you're
because I hold a German passport. So
passport.
basically, as a German, I want my family to immigrate to
Yes.
Switzerland. So now I tell her she has to behave now, because
Gets them
she's
back.
only allowed to stay in the country.
That's very interesting. Yeah, no, I noticed it. I absolutely noticed it. Yeah.
Yeah, even job wise, the Swiss companies, they have to search for a local first and then
Yes.
EU wide. Yeah, local
Yeah.
EU wide, and then they have to prove if they can't find anything, or they have to prove they can't find anything in Switzerland or EU.
Yeah,
Then they can
that's
before
very
they
interesting.
recruit someone from abroad. So, and then they can be sponsored by the employer.
Yeah.
So, for example, Monica, my wife, she works in a English school, private school, and I would say 90% of her colleagues, they're all sponsored by the school. So,
Yeah.
so it's easier for them to
Yeah.
move to Switzerland.
Absolutely. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so interesting. Yeah, like I knew I was a bit luckier because it was pre-Brexit, but I think you're the first I've encountered who's really had to,
Yeah,
struggle a bit.
it
Yeah.
wasn't easy. Yeah.
Interesting.
Very bureaucratic country as well.
Very.
But a lot of, look, no country is perfect. There's always ups and downs, and positive and negatives. But yes, it's bureaucratic and a little bit old-fashioned. But like you said, the quality of life is really good, and we will
Yeah,
get to that soon.
absolutely.
So after you moved to Switzerland, did you have any cultural shocks? What was it?
Absolutely. Have you ever been to Scotland, Mario?
Yeah,
What do you think of
been
the
to
people?
Edinburgh.
Do you mind me asking, what do you think of the people?
The nicest people I've
There
ever
you
seen.
go. They're so, and I'm not just saying that, they're so friendly and they do not stop talking. I know I'm probably the typical example, but like, we don't. Like, you could be sitting in the bus stop and somebody will come, sit down beside you and just start a conversation. And it's not strange. It's not weird. You don't like, my husband found it a bit weird when he first came because he was just like, why are they talking to me? Like, mind your own business. And I was like, that's super rude. And he said he notices that every time we go back to Scotland to visit my family, when I sit in the taxi, I do not stop talking. Not because I started the conversation, but the taxi driver did. And we will talk for the 30 minutes home. Like, we will find anything to talk about. That just doesn't happen here, unfortunately. Sorry. So what else do I say? People are more reserved. They're not as open. They're not as, yeah, they're not.
Yeah, it's
That was the biggest culture shock for me. Maybe not for Raymond because I don't know what, I think Germans aren't also the friendliest, if I can say that, as Scottish. But Scottish, I think, are literally off the spectrum. And I think that was why for me it was huge.
just to clarify, compared to Scotland, no other nation is as friendly, in
No.
my opinion. And with Monica to Edinburgh, we were looking for a location, we're using maps, walking around, and someone just approached us.
Oh
Hey,
yeah, no.
you
Somebody
okay?
will approach you and be like, "Where do you need to go?" They will not
Yeah,
wait for you to ask. Yeah, yeah. It's super friendly,
yeah,
super kind. You will always find someone helping you. Always. Yeah. And that's not the
yeah.
case here, unfortunately. Yeah.
You mentioned the pay gap earlier.
Mhm.
And let's say someone who wants to apply for a job, obviously they will speak to a recruiter, they will apply for a
Yeah.
job, what kind of salary they should accept.
Shoot, I'm answering this as a doctor. Salary. Yeah.
Yeah, just like a range from, like I said, you
Yeah.
don't need to.
So minimum. So this is the other thing. One of the other huge differences, Mario, is like people. Some companies work with a standard salary. Some work on turnover. So you get paid and by what you see. So if there's a month where it's like super busy and you have so many patients, you're going to get loads. Another month where you hardly see any patients because I don't know, summer holidays, whatever. You're not going to get a good monthly salary. So that's another huge. That's really big difference. So, and I would probably suggest when starting out, if you're applying for a job, to go to an institution where you're gonna get a big standard, what's called like a basic salary every month, and not get paid by what we call here in Switzerland Umsatz, like turnover. And so, for example, I think it would be you would expect for full time between 170 to 220. It's quite a big range. But those who are getting 170 a year for full time would expect them to get bonuses every so often for turnover. That makes sense. So that's what my first system did. My first job was you get your basic pay, and then if you went over how many patients you're supposed to see or whatever, then you get every, I think it's 3 to 4 months, a bonus. There's a job I'm in now. The pay is higher, but there is no bonus. And of course, my colleague gets a 13-month pay, but we don't. That's like the range is like huge. That's what I'm trying to say, Mario. It's like there is not one like institute that's the same as the other. It's a bit mind crazy, to be honest.
Yeah, no, thank you for the
Mhm.
insight, Mariam. And this is just for someone applying for a
Yeah.
job, and no, they're not getting ripped off by
Yeah,
recruit. I'm not
yeah,
saying
yeah.
recruiters rip anyone off,
Yeah.
but there's such a big range. When I applied for jobs here, some were ridiculous, some were okay.
Yeah.
Like just so much information out there. So to hear it from you as a doctor, it's really, yeah, I would say interesting, but
Yeah.
also reliable source, I would say. So basically what you're saying is if you want stability, you want to know what your monthly salary be fixed, you go to where you choose an institute or GP where you go on
Yeah.
a
You get a monthly
salary,
salary. Yeah.
monthly salary.
Absolutely.
And if you want to go the other route where you go get turnover, you might get
Yeah.
a bonus.
I think these places are the places where they do a lot of walk-ins. So I'm not sure so there's what's it called? Like a walk-in practice, I think it's called Permanence. Here,
Mhm.
I don't know what their salaries are or anything because I've never applied to them and I don't know how they work, but I would assume they might work by turnover because they're open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. in the evening. It's almost like a semi A&E, but also like a GP practice. So I can imagine something like that is more of a kind of turnover thing. Whereas if you want to get like a monthly salary just fixed, then it's your 8 till 5 or 8 till 6, Monday to Friday.